The surprising thing about autonomous ships is not the steering. It is the paperwork. The hardest problem is proving after the fact what the ship believed and why it acted. In 2026, the practical legal frontier is not ship personhood. It is evidence-grade autonomy inside today's vessel-centric liability system. That means accountability still attaches to a specific vessel, its operator and owner, its flag state, and the records that can be inspected. The autonomy is not a new legal person. It is a control system that must leave a trail. Start with what makes modern autonomy tempting. Maritime navigation is one of the rare domains with a global, shared coordination signal. That signal is AIS, the Automatic Identification System. Vessels broadcast identity, position, course, speed, and other fields. Because AIS is widespread and structured, autonomy research has repeatedly leaned on it. Trajectory prediction, traffic density modeling, vessel type expectations, and AIS-aware risk perception have become recurring methods. In 2025, peer-reviewed work advanced hybrid trajectory prediction that treats AIS as a core substrate for motion modeling. In 2026, research extended AIS analysis of waterway utilization by vessel type and class. Also in 2026, formal enumeration of AIS vessel types and codes strengthened machine-readable classification. Those details matter for strategy because they show where the leverage is. AIS gives you an enormous historical dataset for learning patterns. It also gives you a live feed for situational awareness. With it, systems can estimate where nearby ships are likely to be in the next minutes, not just where they are right now. Risk perception navigation, published in 2020 and reinforced in 2021, goes further. It tries to encode how risky is this situation and use that risk state to guide maneuver planning. But the biggest trap is to treat AIS as truth. AIS is a coordination substrate, not a truth oracle. Even when a vessel is broadcasting, the quality can vary. A 2007 simulator evaluation showed Class B AIS communication performance depends materially on installation condition. That means reliability is partly a vessel-by-vessel implementation issue, not just a network property. In operational terms, the autonomy stack has to treat AIS like any other sensor channel. It can be noisy, delayed, inconsistent, or wrong. Then there is the more adversarial version of the same issue. Ships can deliberately stop broadcasting. That creates dark vessel encounters, where the non-cooperative traffic is precisely the traffic you most need to know about. In 2026, AIS Shield framed intentional AIS shutdown as a self-supervised detection problem. The point is that AIS-denied behavior is not a rare edge case. It is a normal risk class that must be designed, tested, and logged. So autonomy on ships is not one capability. It is a set of bounded permissions. The near-term unit of governance is the authorized autonomy mode. Think of an autonomy mode as a declared operational envelope. It is enabled only when certain thresholds are met. Sensor health is within bounds. Communications are adequate for the mode. Traffic context is acceptable. Decision evidence is being logged as required. If those conditions fail, the mode must downgrade, or the vessel must transition to a safe state. This shifts the debate from, is the ship autonomous, to which autonomy mode is active right now. Advisory mode is one thing. Remote supervised harbor transit is another. Autonomous station keeping is different again. Emergency safe state maneuvering is its own mode. The system has to distinguish these modes in its logs, so humans can reconstruct what authority the machine actually had. That word, reconstruct, is the hinge. A vessel class AI is valuable only if its actions are explainable to an incident investigator, an insurer, a classification society surveyor, and a port state authority. Explainable here does not mean a pretty dashboard. It means replayable. You need a time-synchronized evidence package, from perception to prediction to planning to command to actuation. That evidence package starts with identity. Which vessel in registry terms are we talking about? Which autonomy system version was installed? Which model version and configuration state were running at the time? What sensor suite was installed? And what operating envelope was authorized? Without that, you cannot even define the system you are investigating. Next comes perception, and it is broader than people assume. AIS ingress and parsing state must be recorded, including what messages were received and how they were interpreted. Sensor health indicators must be captured, because degraded sensors are not just a safety problem, they are an evidence problem. Radar, optical, inertial, GNSS, AIS receivers, and environmental sensors degrade. In 2024, sensor degradation was highlighted as a practical constraint connecting autonomy safety, maintenance quality, and post-incident reconstruction. If you cannot show sensor health, you cannot show that autonomy was responsibly authorized. Prediction is the third layer. It's not enough to log that you saw another vessel. You need your predicted trajectories for your own ship and for nearby traffic. You need the vessel type and class priors used in motion expectations, because a tug and a tanker do not behave the same way. You also need confidence estimates and anomaly flags because low confidence should change behavior. Then planning. Risk perception state should be logged. Candidate maneuvers should be recorded. Rejected maneuvers should have reasons. If a collision avoidance duty or local custom was considered, that needs to be visible in the record. Otherwise, you end up with a black box that appears to make choices without accountable logic. Finally, command and actuation. Which maneuver was selected? What sequence of commands was sent? Whether a human approved, intervened, or overrode? Which fallback triggers fired, if any? And beneath it all, forensic integrity, clock synchronization state, data retention policy, tamper evidence storage, the ability to replay the full chain end to end. If that sounds heavy, it is. Yet the alternative is worse. The governance failure modes are predictable, and they are expensive. One is the attribution gap. The operator says the autonomy acted independently. The vendor says the operator deployed it wrong. The regulator cannot reconstruct the event. Everyone points outward, and nobody is accountable. Another is the evidence gap. Logs exist, but they are not synchronized across layers, or they omit planner state, or they do not capture sensor health. You get a pile of partial traces that cannot settle a claim or improve safety. AIS over-reliance is a third. A system treats AIS as complete situational truth and misses vessels with bad installations, missing broadcasts, or intentional shutdown. That is how you get a clean simulation and a messy real-world incident. Sensor maintenance is another. Autonomy remains enabled even when sensors have degraded or health records are incomplete. Here, maintenance is not a back-office function. It is part of the safety case and part of legal defensibility. Then there is envelope creep. A system validated for a constrained route, traffic condition, or weather regime gets used outside the declared envelope. The system might still work until it doesn't. When it fails, you cannot argue it was authorized, because it wasn't. Mode confusion is a quieter failure, but just as dangerous. Crew, remote supervisors, and the system disagree about which mode is active. If humans think they are supervising and the machine thinks it has authority, you have created a new kind of bridge resource management failure. All of this leads to a more grounded way to allocate capital. Do not fund, procure, or ensure autonomy as a label. Fund bounded authority with auditability. Require evidence-grade logging from sensor ingress through planner state, risk evaluation, command output, and actuation record. Make AIS denied and sensor degraded test cases part of acceptance, including deliberate AIS shutdown scenarios and installation condition variants. Regulators and port authorities can reinforce this by conditioning approvals on declared autonomy modes, supervision models, minimum evidence packages, and safe state behavior. Classification societies can translate autonomy claims into surveyable requirements, like software configuration audits, sensor degradation tests, and autonomy notations tied to explicit criteria. Insurers can price policies around reconstructability, maintenance evidence, and declared envelope compliance, rather than marketing claims. Over time, this governance approach compounds. Remote supervision scales only when autonomy modes are bounded and exception handling is evidence-rich. Insurance becomes more computable when it can attach to logged envelope compliance and sensor health. Ports gain predictability when they can authorize modes and routes, not bespoke exceptions. Fleet learning improves when AIS-based prediction and traffic priors can be updated without weakening accountability. Looking farther out, the same legal pattern may extend beyond ships. Undersea platforms, sealed habitats, orbital service craft, and even interplanetary vehicles with delayed human command could inherit vessel-class governance. But none of that requires declaring a machine to be a person. The near-term win is simpler and harder. Build systems that can be trusted because they can be reconstructed. If you remember one line, remember this: safety is inseparable from proof, and proof is a design requirement, not an afterthought.